right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Serious Angler Podcast. I'm back with the captain, Mr. Andy Full, and as always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbrett. And it's been a couple weeks now since we've had a live show.
Yeah, I missed the last couple too. Like it's been rough for me. Apparently,
it's been rough all around. I've had we weren't even supposed to have a live stream this week. I'm actually supposed to be on a work trip, but that's all been canceled, and it's just been an absolute. I think we can say this for about a lot of things going on right now. It's just a mess. I think is how we can really chalk it up to. But we're hoping with that mess that on this show we can do a lot of good, and as always, have some fun talking fishing and bring some positivity to a tough time right now. Because I guess we'll kind of get right into what we're part of. What we're going to talk about tonight is. One of the biggest, hubs of the bass fishing world has taken a pretty hard hit, and that is the Carolinas, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and it's tough to see, man. It really is. I really don't know if I could put into words some of the things I've seen, but in doing so, we wanted to at least try to do some good tonight. So we're bringing on a friend of ours, a friend of the show, Austin Neri, who we'll bring on here in a couple minutes to talk a little bit about that, and then really talk about some ways for if you are able to help, if you do have, a few bucks laying around that you're able to spare, or some fishing people you're able to support, we'll have some means to do so, and we have some in the description. We'll get to that here in a second, but a few different ways you can do so. So we're going to try to do some good tonight, and we're going to keep this going. We're going to have these links available. We're going to keep them locked in the show descriptions for the foreseeable future, because I actually was talking with Clint Bartlett, who's a friend of ours, who's does social media for Yamaha, is a camera guy, a wizard. You've probably seen him on every single live show across the board. I saw one of his things on his story that showed a route through Western North Carolina that says, I think it was something along the lines of the road won't be available until September 2025, which is literally a year from now. And I'm sure that's honestly not even it too. I'm sure it's going to be even longer than that. Just absolutely crazy. And honestly, Andy, having this show this week, I hate this feeling up here right now. I feel like I want to help. I want to do something, but we're also so helpless being up here. When they're instructing people, obviously, to stay away from down there. But I figured the best way we can do it is to try to bring some positivity by talking fishing, and then seeing if we can, do our best to try to move the needle and get some people the help that they can. So I didn't feel it at first. It didn't really feel right doing a show this week, but I think in this form, we're bringing some much needed positivity to a time where I think we need it. Because I'll say this: Tennessee and both the Carolinas are in the I think it's like top 7 or top 8 of locations of people that support Serious Angler. So it's only right that we do our damnness to try to support us. So it's crazy though. I've checked in on a bunch of folks, like the Queens. I've checked in on, obviously we talked with Austin. Thankfully, Austin and his family are down in Texas. Checked down, the Shane LaHue and Matt Airy and all those guys in North Carolina. Thankfully they were all east of what got crushed. So it's pretty crazy stuff. But we're gonna talk some fishing today. We're gonna talk some summer to fall transition. We're gonna bring Austin on, and we're gonna do our top 5 baits that we like for this time of year. But we're gonna obviously talk some other stuff here before we do so. But Andy, you got anything before we bring Austin on here?
No, I just want to throw out there like how you hit on like Tennessee, North Carolina, even parts of South Carolina, Georgia are devastated. Who knows when they'll have power again. The one thing I will say is that the mainstream media, right, has been pointing it out as like 2 or 3 of the big towns that got hit, and they're the ones they're the only ones who need help. But unfortunately, there's a lot of little towns and villages and people that are still missing that could use a lot of help. So if you can find a way to help them, not by going there, but by donating or whatever you need to do to help them out, every little bit will help, right? Like Asheville, I got to go to Asheville, stayed at the Biltmore for a wedding a few years ago, and I saw videos city, and I'm like, man, everything that I did while I was there is like gone. Like
Yeah.
New Brewery, like almost filled to the roof of water, which is right on the river that runs right through downtown. It was one of the coolest cities I think I've been to through my not so vast travels, but I've pretty much covered the whole eastern seaboard, and I just feel awful. It's hard to even talk about it. I feel so bad for those people.
Yeah, and that's just outside looking in, where it's, I've called Rudd basically every day since it happened, just making sure him and the family are good down there in Tennessee as well. And he's like, yeah, thankfully they're up a little bit higher, but he goes, any 30 minutes in any direction and it's just leveled, which is just insane to think about. What was it? The Nola Chuck? I'm probably gonna butcher the name, but it was Nola Chucky, I think it was the dam or something like that. They
Lake
said
Lure.
was right. Was that the one that they said was 2x of the Niagara Falls output?
Yeah, I think so. Which
Something
is unreal.
insane. Like,
so if you want to go like Niagara Falls output, Niagara Falls is 1 million cubic feet per second. So
yeah,
like, it's
absolutely
unreal. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't feel right to be diving into it without our guest here. So let's bring him in here. Mr. Austin Neri. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Not as good as you in Lake Fork, man. But
yeah, well, we're at Lake Fork, but one of the campers just drove by as my wife and I, we were in the truck talking for like an hour, just like, what does life look like for us? Because I mean, there's been so many things to develop here in the past week. I mean, literally a week ago. So for those of you who don't know, my wife and I, we started Dream Catchers Fishing in Western North Carolina, a little town called Silva. I started the bass fishing team that Clint Bartlett fished on 4 or 5 years after I started it. But yeah, a bunch of diehard fishermen. And anyways, we did that for a decade. And then just recently, we founded a company, fishtips.com, which you guys are familiar with. We've talked about it before. And we're like, hey, I feel like we had some Airbnbs, we sold them. And I was like, I think we're going to go on the road and like meet guides and onboard them and, just do this fish tips thing. We got our tackle shop under contract to be sold. And literally we're supposed to close on it in a week. We just finalized everything. And then, so we rented our primary residence, rented our another house. We were like, hey, the business is selling, kind of, there's nothing left for us in Western North Carolina. Like, we're going to hit the road. And then, yeah, I mean, just Helene came through, and I talked to my dad Friday, like midday. He's like, dude, we've had 5 inches. And he goes, Austin, they're calling for 15 more inches. And I was like, I was talking to these people in the campground. I'm like, it's off at so that whole part, the Blue Ridge Mountains, is actually called a temperate rainforest. It rains a ton. If you see anything come from the east side of Florida, it hits the mountains and rides the mountains up, kind of the northeast. And then anything in the Gulf hits the mountains. And Great Smoky Mountain National Park. It's Great Smoky Mountain National Park because the evaporation, it's always moist. It's always wet. So we get a lot of rain. And like I said, 5 inches to 10 inches of rain in a day or 48 hours, not uncommon. Our hometown got 24 inches of rain in 12 hours. And just east of us, Waynesville, Canton, Asheville, Swannanoa, Black Mountain, Chimney Rock, 30 inches of rain in 12 hours. And when you think about, it's the mountains, man, like 45-degree angle mountains, like it's sharp, they're steep. So you think like it's really hard to comprehend flooding because you're like, everything just runs downhill like as fast as it can. The water was falling faster than the rivers were running. And the dams super, got super backed up, and to the point where there was so much water pressure pushing against the dams, they couldn't control the flow out. So the dams went up and then cascaded over. You had a dam failure at Lake Lure, and that totally wiped out Chimney Rock. Beautiful little town. I mean, town of about 2,000 residents, like gone. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, it's crazy, dude. But I mean, one of my really good friends, Sheriff Department, Heath Jones, Jackson County. He's like, man, we're still pulling bodies out of the water just right down the road from your house, dude. So my house, we sit on on Cope Creek, and then it flows into Scotts Creek, and then Scotts Creek into Tuckasegee into Fontana into Chioa into Chilhowie into Tellico, all the way down to the Tennessee River. Yeah. And but yeah, dude, it's crazy. Douglas Lake's pumping at 500,000 gallons. 500. I don't know.
Ridiculous rate
per second. I mean, I think
so. It's what 500,000 cubic feet per second. So
that's what it is. Yeah. And it's
CFS.
So I'm trying to think. I feel like maybe my dad shared a number with me. Is like 23 trillion gallons of water was dumped in Florida, Georgia, and then through the Carolinas into Virginia, Tennessee. I mean, I even saw today there's still 150,000 people without power in Ohio because of it. So yeah, man, one of the bridesmaids in our wedding house gone. There's still not cell service. It's kind of third world. Like, we still haven't talked to friends that live on the river. And, my dad's been literally having to drive and then drive his UTV and then hike up the mountain to call me to give me updates and then go down and work into town. There's entire communities. So how these communities work, you get these valleys, and these valleys usually have one road in, and usually everything flows downhill, and the path of least resistance is the flattest, so there's usually a creek next to a road. Well, with in between 2 and 3 feet of rain in a matter of a half a day, 12 hours, a lot of those little communities actually have no road to get out of them. So they're actually having to horseback, take supplies via horseback into these communities. I'm trying not to cry, dude. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. I'd seen your story earlier, man. And like Andy and I were saying earlier, it's so hard, obviously, for you guys, but then outside looking in, just with no way to help. And obviously you guys being in Texas, it's got to be the hardest damn thing. It's just not knowing.
Well, yeah, man. And I mean, we've worked so hard to develop a business with dream catchers to be really what I would say a pillar in the community. I mean, I love Jesus. Lord knows that I'm not perfect. But I'm a lot of people have just always it's been always a beacon of hope. And I just feel like we've been able to help so many people in our community, and we've done so much outreach with just, when you think about rural America, dude, it's a lot of it is, our economies are built on tourism. It's really the haves and have nots. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of drug abuse, so there's just a lot of headaches that happen in rural America. So in the mountains, I know everybody thinks of the movie Deliverance and some backwoods people, but I mean, just some of the kindest, most loving people. And for something like this to happen, dude, I can't wrap my mind around it.
Some of you, I mean, I got to experience some of that from a Tennessee standpoint with Rudd and him taking me in some of that backwoods, boonies type of communities. And it's some of your
people like Rudd and me.
Yeah. Your truest dang Americans you'll meet in this country. And you nailed it on the head, man. And with that, we talked about it a little bit in the intro. But what we did and we really want to do tonight, guys, for people that are tuning in and even after the fact that are listening, and I mentioned we're going to keep these links for the foreseeable future, is there's links to go and support if you're looking for legitimate sources to donate to. The ones that we found actually came through from Qualified Captain, who's a very trusted source when it comes to in regards to these links, things like that. Obviously, you can see some Red Cross stuff around there, but not all of your money is basically guaranteed to go and help if you donate. It's not the worst option, but there's better places to donate to. And if, one thing we want to urge tonight is if you guys are going to find fishing tackle, we put the link to Dreamcatchers Fishing as well in the show notes. You guys are looking for some tackle. We even ran it. We called up Omnia today as well, and they're in full support because obviously you guys know Omnia is a partner of ours. Go spend some money at Dreamcatchers Fishing. Go support the people that work for you guys, Austin. And
yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people reaching out hey, what can we do? And I'm you can't reach anybody. Like that, there's roads. That's the tough thing for me to wrap my mind around, man, is like, so Dreamcatchers wasn't physically affected. We didn't get flooded. Our building wasn't swept away, our inventory, our boats, but the cataclysmic events have been like, dude, nobody's fishing in our community. We're cleaning up. And then we had 30 trip cancellations in 48 hours. So I look at a business that I've poured a decade of my life into. And I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily know what's going to happen in the future. So, you know, when people are like, what can we do to help? I have employees, you know, and I don't want to just shut the store down for 3 weeks to figure everything out. I want to keep them employed so they have income for their families. So, you know, I'm just like, if you guys can support, I mean, buy a reel online, buy a swim bait, something from us. It's greatly appreciated. But if you want to donate, obviously, man, there's so many great causes right now. And, you know, like, just to put things into perspective, like, my family's always been, we've always tried to be super generous people. And I mean, my dad's like, he's been putting a lot of the stuff on the business credit card, just like, he's like, hey, so right now there's only one road into Western North Carolina from the south, and that's 441 from Atlanta, kind of through Gainesville past Lanier, and then and my dad has been traveling every day to about 2 hours down to about Lake Lanier to find groceries and fuel that he's filling up tanks to bring them back so people can run their generators. And, you know, like, that's all. Dad's like, hey, I'm just putting everything on our business card. Like, he's like, whatever happens, man. It's an all-in effort.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it takes, dude. Like, these are people that have supported the shop for years, you know, and I'm just so blessed, like I said, to serve them. And, you know, it's just like, it's all hands on deck. And I don't know, you kind of feel like this is going to sound a little bit weird, I guess, and sadistic, but I've always been like, I wonder what it's like to be part of a natural disaster and the chaos. But then you're in it and you're like, you kind of feel like you're in a bubble, and it's super confusing, and there's no way to kind of gauge what's happening. And I mean, especially for us, they're flying helicopters, bro. There's freaking Apaches and I don't even know the other, like, they're flying military helicopters to deliver goods to some of these communities. But yeah, I mean, I like, there's tons of tackle shops obviously that are going to be affected. And you know, obviously I know we have an online presence, but you know, like I said, I even hate saying like support us, you know, but we're really pouring into our community right now as hard as we ever have. So
yeah, this is an unfortunate one, man, where it feels a lot like you know, early COVID, where a lot of small businesses unfortunately were heavily impacted type of deal. And unfortunately, I think you're gonna see a lot of that here, especially in that region. And you know, I think at this point it's just one where we just try to save what we can save. And you know, I think I urge everyone that listens to this, you know, even if it's a couple packs of baits, you know, it's some is better than none. If you're able to, please go to that link below at Dreamcatchers Fishing and go and buy something from the shop. Please do. I mean, if you do, send a screenshot, send it to us too. I'll send you some goodies. Please go over and help these guys out. And, you know, for people that are looking, we talked about it a little bit in the intro as well, for people that are looking to help beyond that are able to, we do have links there in the description where there are legitimate sources where you can go help in certain funds. As well as one I saw, I wanted to give a shout out to him. Austin, I mentioned this to you offline. There's the groups of Dugout Bait and Tackle, Westbrook Supply Co., and Festive Paddle Sports. Festive Water Paddle Sports. They're putting on a tournament with Tourney X. Dwayne Wally's awesome over there. They've waived all their fees for this one, so Tourney X isn't getting any money. So 100% of all the proceeds from this tournament go to the Appalachian Helene Response Fund. That's actually through the Appalachia Funders Network. So all this is going to help people. And this is one where you can get in on a tournament. Grant, I don't even know what the fishing is like, but whatever. You can win prizes, but all of the proceeds, all of your entry fees or such go to people in need. So it's a cool thing. We can see the fishing community come together. I linked that as well in the show notes for you guys. I'm going to keep those in there for the foreseeable future, because this isn't just a one show and everything's going to be okay in a week. This is, I mean, like we were saying with Clint Bartlett had put on his story, that road up to Western North Carolina says literally maybe to resume September 2025.
Yeah, that's Highway
Chardonnay.
40. Highway 40. When you're coming through from Knoxville to Asheville, you pass what we call the gorge, and beautiful, tall, cliffy mountains. They're kind of all held back by your kind of fence, because there's so many rocks that just fall because of erosion and stuff. But yeah, eastbound. So that there's a lake there called Lake Waterville, and then Waterville flows in the Pigeon River. Pigeon River flows into Douglas Lake, but it washed out. I mean, the river was so high, it washed the bank out about 50 foot above the road, or 50 foot up the mountainside, which ended up taking the road. And the high water marks on all of our towns, it's marked. It's like, hey, this was the highest water's ever been in recorded history. The water was 7 feet to 11 feet higher in all of our communities than had ever been recorded in history. So, I mean, there's no real way to prepare for that, but yeah, that's Highway 40. And then Highway 40 from Charlotte to Asheville, so you go up, Black Mountain grade. And anyways, there were 3 landslides. That's why it's like the whole place is on an island. And yeah, it's like, I told Molly, I'm like, hey, let's turn this thing around. We need to go help. And my dad's like, dude, what are you guys going to do? Like, you can't get to us, so.
Yeah, that's been, I think, the hard part for a lot of people. Like I talking with Rudd, calling him throughout all that was, what can we do? It's like, well, there's nothing you can do, because honestly, majority of the time, like Andy mentioned earlier, it's like, sure, you could go down there, but you're not going to be of much help. I think really there's a lot of hands on deck right now. I think, especially ones that are highly qualified to be in such of a danger zone, if you will, because all the videos of some of those blown out roads and things like that. There's a lot of instability still right now, and so I think if anything, it's really donate to these groups that are funding the right people to go in there and get this thing done and get it done safely and most efficiently. So your dad makes a great point there. It's a hard one. It's a hard pill to swallow, in regards to, you want to help, you want to be, boots in the ground, but in the end of the day, there's not much you can do there, which is it's tough, man. I feel for you and your family. I'm glad though that your pops is still good. Family's okay. And hopefully you'll hear from more of the neighbors and stuff here soon.
My grandparents are in South Carolina, and they both have oxygen, and they literally have their oxygen plugged into a 12 volt on a generator. So that, I mean, like, they still don't have. My grandfather, I talked to him today. He said they're eating 1 meal a day, and he's like, they live with our cousin. They're like, they sent Jessica down to get some food at the grocery store, and there's nothing. So it's insane, man. Just prayer, and so grateful for all the linemen and everybody that obviously just like, when stuff like this happens, they just jump in. So
it's cool to see. So this is one thing that I almost think about this every day in some capacity, and I try to remind myself of it. Because I think it's a lot of Americans can remind themselves of this, because it's, if you look at it correctly, you'll understand where it comes from. And it's from Dakota Meyer, and he said it all years ago. And he says, I'll never pray again for a 9/11, but I'll ask for another 9/12. And if you can understand what that means, where it's more of everybody that's coming together here, I think you're seeing that too.
Yeah.
All the people that are coming together to try to help each other and find those. It's been really cool to see. I mean, heartbreaking to see some of the coverage coming out of it on, obviously, on social media, but some of it really encouraging to see how many people out there, trying to help. Shout out to Lou Minetti, who's been going out of his way to help those in the North Carolina area, and more, people.
Charlotte.
David Mullins that's been crushing it, and we've seen some stuff from him, and the list goes on. It's been cool to see that. I think that's some of the uplifting stuff we can take from a negative occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Well, you want to get into the baits?
Yeah, let's bring some positive on this. Let's talk some fishing, and then we'll have these baits especially if they're on the Dream Catcher site to go purchase. I want to see them sold out tonight, people. That's what I want to see.
That would be great.
That would be awesome. Well, dude, I'll kick it off to you, man. Well, kick it off to you, Austin, because we're gonna get to each of our top 5 baits for that summer to fall transition, because that's what a lot of us are going through. Leaves are changing up here in New York anyway. We're getting 40-degree nights here a little bit. It's been feeling good. We just had opening day bow season yesterday. The deer are running.
Congratulations.
Who did?
You did. Didn't you shoot a nice buck?
Oh, I've had a few people. I should have
restructured he's been just looking at them and drooling over the ones he hopes to shoot.
Why did I feel like I just saw a picture of you with a buck?
You did actually. I've had a few people that reached out to me, and I should have really restructured that caption a different way, because that's like from 3 years ago. It was more of, hey, it's opening day, like good luck to all of my hunters here in New York type of deal. And I've had people who are like, congrats, and I'm like, no, it was 3 years ago.
I literally I thought to myself, I'm like, Bailey gets it done fishing and hunting. Well, congrats on your tournament win. I saw you just won a tournament the other day.
He's unreal. Don't give him any more kudos than he needs. Come on now. I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh. Well, I appreciate it, buddy. I wish I got it done opening day. That way I could just go fish until gun season. But
right.
Yeah, man. It's a fun time of year, but it can be tricky. So let's go through some of our top 5s.
Top 5 baits. So number 1, I would say is, I mean, a lot of people know me as a glide bait guide for a long time, but I love a glide bait or big swim bait. I'm a big fan. They are available on dreamcatchersfishing.com of the DRT baits. Those are the
say, as we're talking right now, I bought a brown trout. So.
Oh, really? Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I had to. I've always wanted one. So.
Yeah, that's a killer bait. But I think about glide bait fishing. The thing I really like about that bait is it's so versatile. You can use it like a crankbait, you can use it like a wake bait, you can use it like a glide bait. But I like a glide bait. I always tell people on guide trips, if it's gonna be tough, it's gonna be tough with a chance at a giant. I can't stand fishing in the fall transition when it's just grimy, and I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes I'm just like, hey, we might not get many bites today, but when we get them, they're going to be huge. So I love just locking a glide in my hand and covering a lot of water, because you do get fish that are in inches of water. You get fish out deep. You get fish suspended. You get fish kind of doing everything. It's like, hey, I know that there's a population that still live up shallow and that kind of, really less than 8 foot zone. And if I throw a glide bait, Highland Reservoir, or even down here, I caught an absolute giant yesterday on Fork on a glide bait, but glide bait moves a lot of water, gets bit by big ones. Fall transition when it's tough, especially because fall, you have a lot of championship tournaments. So when you think about it, it can be a grind, right? It's like, hey, if you can freaking catch a few 2.5 pounders and then throw 2 5-pound plus bites in your bag, that's a needle mover. So glide bait would be first and foremost one of my top 5.
Heck yeah, dude. I mean, shoot, worst case, if you don't catch them, it's at least gonna make them show themselves. So if times are tough and you're not finding any fish, you're at least gonna see some throwing that bait.
Absolutely. Are we going around the horn, or is it just?
Yeah. Well, Andy, you're up.
All right, my first one. Sorry, I'm communicating with the wife. She's on her way home from a dinner. But
how dare you?
I know, terrible of me. No, my first one, I think that I would probably pick up most times up here in a pinch if I'm fishing bodies of water that have both largemouth and smallmouth, will more than likely be a swim jig. You can put a lot of different trailers on the back of it, fish it just about anywhere. You could skip it underneath trees, slow crawl it over grass. You could Alabama shake it like they do down south in reeds or underneath docks. Like, it's super universal. You can drag it on the bottom. It's a do everything bait. And, the fall transition fish are kind of just everywhere at no rhyme or reason. It's just something you can put the trolling motor on 7, fish it up 50 different ways and 50 different casts and probably pick up a bite here and there. So I love me a good swim jig.
That was my number 2. So I'll have to do number 3. When it's back to me.
Bailey.
Hey, you can always pick a swim jig too, and then just put a different spin on it. Maybe a different pick on the trailer that you like on it, or however.
Yeah.
But
Now I will say this: I'm not throwing like a full size swim jig. I'm using the Beast Coast Working Man's, which is a little bit more of a condensed sized, and I'll throw it on like 15-pound test, straight fluorocarbon, and it's just an overall bite getter. You can catch small ones on it. You can catch numbers, and great big ones will eat it as well.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
All right. My first one is going to be because everybody, when we talk about the fall time, we talk about bait downsizing. We had Caleb Bell on about a month ago, and he says as the temperatures start to drop a little bit more, some of those bass will focus on that smaller bait versus some of your bigger profile baits. And one that I love throwing this time of year more than any is a wake bait. And one that I love profile wise for alewives is that 6 cent speed wake. It's like the perfect size for a decent sized alewife, especially up here. And that thing is freaking fun. And it's, if you're looking for a wake bait, because there's so many different options out there. And typically I feel like, and Austin, feel free to disagree here, but some of your bigger and more, I would say, better wake baits are a little bit more pricey. Whereas I think the 6 cents one is pretty dang affordable and pretty dang effective.
Yeah, that's really good. And then I also like the Rapala Balsa BX. It's called the BX Minnow. It's got it's kind of a long, slender. I think they kind of made it to compete with the Bomber Long A. But the Rapala BX Minnow is a bad to the bone wake bait too, but also affordable. But yeah, when you get into those bigger kind of swim bait style wake baits, they can get pretty pricey. I do like the speed wake from 6 cents.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite one. And it's a little bit more subtle of a topwater, but there's something about this time of year when temperatures are changing. You get a lot of more foggy mornings. Something about that wake bait just getting absolutely wrecked and cannonballed in the morning. Definitely give that. Especially don't be afraid to throw it midday on shade lines too. All right, Austin, what you got, man?
Well, I didn't want to be this guy, so I'm going to save it for my next go around. And I only have a couple more minutes, guys, and then I got to roll out. But my next one is a Demiki axe blade.
Oh.
So the Demiki axe blade is a tail spinning, kind of like a little George, except it has a willow leaf, but the willow leaf is pivoted around a swivel, so it has more of a helicopter tail action than a traditional inline willow leaf action. And it is a bait that you can cast on schooling fish. It is a bait you can use like a jigging spoon. It is a bait, once again, kind of like what Andy said, talking about the versatility. I can catch fish schooling on it. I can catch fish in the bottom, because once again, I think about fish are on bait in the fall, all water column. And then I want something that if they come up schooling just far enough, yeah, that thing is bad to the freaking bone. And it's 3/4 of an ounce. I don't even throw, I think they have a 1 1/4 ounce or 1 1/8 ounce or something. I only throw the 3/4 ounce. The herring fish, it has that long slender profile like a herring. It's got the profile like a thread fin, smaller bait. It kind of does everything. I cannot tell you how many brutal, tough days you can work at like a flutter spoon. You can work at like a jigging spoon. I mean, you can do everything with the bait. Anyways, can't tell you how many days I've had guide trips where I'm just ready to just jump in the lake and tell my customers to run me over with the trolling motor. And
we've all been there. It's okay.
Yeah. That bait saves the day. That looks sweet. What's it called again? It's a Demiki axe blade. It's my favorite fall and winter bait. Period.
Is it AX or AXE? Because you never know what they're going to
say. Axe blade. Yep. They have one called the Vault too, which is like a inline.
I'm a big Vault fan. Yeah.
They have the blade. It's the blade with an inline willow leaf, and that one gets bit. But I'm telling you, the axe blade will outfish that thing 15-1. It's just a special bait.
Heck yeah, dude. That's some juice right there, man.
I know. I care about people. That's a fish catcher.
Hey, that's fish tips for you, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, bro, I know you got to go. So shoot us one more that you got, and then we'll let you get out of here.
I didn't want to be this guy. I'll do 2 more. One is a fluke. Now, traditionally, I'm a herring baits guy or herring lake guy. So a fluke literally from post spawn all the way till it gets cold again. And you can fish a fluke on a jig head minnow. You could fish a fluke as a fluke. You could throw a fluke on an A-rig. You could throw a fluke on an underspin. I mean, a fluke to me is super versatile bait. You can fish it in so many different ways. I love a fluke. And then just once again, I'm thinking bait fish, shad migration, secondary points, kind of that your typical deal. And then my last one, I didn't want to do it because it's just kind of like is a shaky head. I mean, just dude, when it's grimy, because I think about the fall transition, the lakes are turning over. I mean, it smells like a swamp. Like even our lakes, you know, you're like, what's that floating stuff that looks like decomposing death? Like that's what it is. You know, it's like when it's real tough, stinky, dude. I've seen those fish literally glue into rock that 360 won't pick up, that live scope, no way it's picking it up. Those fish literally bury themselves in rock, and you can finesse them out of those little areas with a tiny little little jig, or a freaking good old fashioned 5-inch finesse worm. Bite it down a little bit further, and you know, almost. I even think it's finessier than a Ned rig, but 1/8 ounce shaky head green pumpkin. You can even add a little tinkle of chartreuse on the tail, but really just soaking that bait and shaking it in place and barely moving it.
Now, do you have a preferred jig head and worm that you like?
I think I use the what are they called? The owner screw lock ones. They're pretty good.
Ultra head, I think.
The ultra head, yeah. The ultra head's really good. I've bent it out on some big spots before, and even some big largemouth. So I'm using it usually on 10-pound fluorocarbon, as light as 8-pound. Just depends on kind of what we're doing with it. If we're brush fishing, I might even go up to 12-pound. But if we're like in the rocks and stuff, I'm okay with 10-pound. So back your drag off a little bit, get a good hook set. Usually a medium action fast tip. You know, that'll have enough tip to kind of pull them out of that, and the rod and reel do the rest. But the ultra head, and then I good old fashioned zoom trick worm, or not trick worm, finesse worm. So
heck yeah, bro.
So
Sweet.
Buddy, I appreciate you taking time out, man.
Thank
I know
you.
this is the topic tonight. You know, talking about everything is hitting home, and appreciate you coming on and talking about everything and where people can support. And
absolutely.
Again, hope we see a lot of people going into dream catchers fishing throughout this week and buying some baits up.
I want to leave y'all with one last thought.
Yeah.
It's a Bible verse that I guess it shook me when I read it, but it's Ecclesiastes 7:4, and it says the wise man lives in the house of mourning. And not mourning as in like early in the day, but mourning as in like to mourn. And it really what it's saying is like you think about death. A wise person thinks about his death a lot and the kind of legacy he's going to leave behind, and just kind of how he captured life's essence. And you just never know when that day's going to come. So, there's so many people. I promise you, I haven't talked to people. I promise you there's somebody that's been swept away in this that I know. But I think when you just think like, hey, at any point in time, this life could be over. It just makes you see things a lot clearer and really makes you take the moment captive and love it. And I'm preaching to myself. I've been in a really bad place the last couple of days, but just cherish the ones you love. And yeah. So
I love it, man. I love it. Well, bro, yeah. I appreciate that. And hopefully people rewind that and listen to that exact statement a few more times, because it's so cliche, but it's shitty that it takes shit like this to happen for us to realize that. And it's unfortunately that's human nature. But bro, I gotta say, for you, every time I've seen you in person, you are the loudest, most energetic, brightest person in the room every single time. So I think you got that going for you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate every conversation we have, and please keep in touch, because we love to see any way we can help you guys and help those that are in need of it back home where you're at.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all. Love you guys. Appreciate y'all a ton.
Have a good night.
Yeah, man. Go catch a big one on Fork for us.
All right. See you guys.
See you, man. Well, there you have, folks. Mr. Austin Neri. Appreciate him taking time out while they're at camp and at Lake Fork, catching bass. Sounds like they caught a big one today. Talk about a pretty tough subject, and appreciate him kind of coming on and feeling vulnerable there, and then also sharing some juice for us. I mean, it's freaking Austin Neri show, man. Coming on, being real, dropping some knowledge on us, and dropping some dang juice. I feel like that's what that guy's all about.
No, 100%. I can't say I've ever had a bad conversation with Austin. So, I mean, I hope him and his family and everyone he knows and everyone who lives in that corridor just I wish the best, even though we know the outcome of what is coming in the days, weeks, and months ahead. So
Dude, Rudd was telling me some things, man, that you can't fathom this stuff happening. And one of the lines that really, I think, nailed this was said that you look on the news and you see this stuff happen in third world countries and you're like, damn, I'm glad I don't live there. Well, that's hit America now. Yeah. This is not essentially another Katrina is what people I've seen relate it to. And I don't want to talk out of context here. I please don't take me in the wrong light when I say that, but it's
any natural disaster is a bad one, especially when there's human life loss is what it comes down to. And there's bigger scales and smaller scales, but I mean, you just never know. And ultimately it all stinks. And it's a natural consequence in the game of life that we play, right? Like it's inevitable.
We're very fortunate that we live here in Buffalo. And as much as I
90 inches of snow at one time. Yeah. That's about as bad.
That's the worst we get. And a couple of random tornadoes every 10 years. Like that's about it. Andy, I want you, because you've known how much I've complained about New York. I want you to, next time you hear me complain about New York, you have full reign, you clock me in the face. Because after seeing shit like this that goes down, I'm never going to complain about it again.
You still want to move to South Carolina?
No. And dude, here's the crazy thing, man. It's why I live by the reason of everything happens for a reason. And it's, dude, exactly where Lan and I were thinking about moving to. Greenville. Got hit pretty damn hard. Could you imagine if we moved when we wanted to move over the summer and the first couple months we were there, this happens?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just things happen for a reason. Unfortunately, stuff like this is just something that is the one thing in life that we can't control.
Yeah.
And that is Mother Nature, and Mother Nature always wins.
Ain't that the truth? And it's crazy to think about. I'm glad, like I've made my rounds of checking in on all my clients that live in South Carolina. I gotta call some family, but they live further east, so I'm pretty sure they're okay because I've seen them do like Facebook posts and stuff. But yeah, just about everyone that I've checked in with, I know a couple of my clients still don't have power in parts of South Carolina, and the one, he'll be all right. He's like teaching people how to cook coffee and stuff just from like, this is how you hook up a battery inverter to turn on a coffee pot. And he's like, man, you would think if we ever turned into a third world country, we'd probably lose 3/4 of our population. So, I mean,
literally, this is where it pays to be an outdoorsman. This is
pays to be an outdoorsman. Like, it's funny.
Most of those people down there, man, they're all country. They're born country. They're good. I think
it's the transplants from up here in the Northeast in New York City and Chicago that moved to the country looking for a better life, right? And they're used to grabbing their Starbucks every morning on the way to the office, ordering out lunch, ordering out dinner. A lot of those people, like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, they just don't know how to fend for themselves, essentially. So it's like,
if there's a way to possibly erase this, I would. And I don't mean this to be insensitive, and I hope people understand where I'm coming from when I say this, but if there was a group of people of the whole country that could survive something like this and have these skills to live off the land and conquer something like this, where it was the kind of people to do that. Those people live outside. They're as close as living off the land as I would say in that region.
Yeah.
But again, I would never wish this on anybody. It's horrible. The things I've seen on social media, the things I've heard, people losing entire farms. It's just,
I
I
mean,
can't
like,
even, dude, here's what scares me the most is, and I hate, we're going to get back to the baits, I promise, because it's supposed to have a positive spin for talking about something that's negative. But it's more that when the water recedes, man, what are
yeah,
we
what
going?
you're
What are they going to find?
And I know in a lot of places the water is already kind of receded, except for out of like a lot of the major reservoirs. And from steelhead fishing and being around like floods, etc., not to the caliber, I would say like a microcosm of the caliber that they experienced down there. Water recedes relatively quickly. It's the big reservoirs that are backed up that have dams that were able to withstand it. That's where you're going to see the long release of water. That's going to take a little bit longer for those systems to clear out. But a lot of those small villages, etc., like I'm trying to think of the one town he just said that was completely wiped out. And it's not just that one that got wiped out. There are like 20 other towns that got just absolutely devastated, that the water's pretty much backed off already in those areas, except for places like Asheville that have a major river system that's dammed up. Like those are the places that it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Sam, I
but
can't actually tell by your comment. Are you actually in a flat tire tuning into this right now?
no, I think he was just being funny. Well, it sounds like he does have a
It
flat
sounds like you
tire.
might have a flat tire. While he's
But
tuning in, that's impressive.
but I
Yeah.
think he's just being like kind of comical in a
Facetious.
sense, like yeah, facetious, trying to ask for a bigger than venti white mocha from Starbucks is what it sounds like. So that's up my alley. I love those things.
Yeah.
So good drink
God.
choice, Sam.
You're so bougie, dude.
Yeah, you make fun of me every morning when we were in Charlotte for Red Crest. I would walk to the coffee shop.
Yeah, you did.
Because I refuse to drink hotel coffee. So
I have no comment.
I like quality, all right? Like good quality
yeah.
beans will drive your day.
Good gosh, dude. Well, buddy, let's go over some more baits here for people.
Sure.
For tuning in. And please, guys, again, urge you, if you're interested in any of these, go look on Dream Fishers, Dream Catchers Fishing, and see if they're on there, and purchase those if you can. So my next one that I had went with the wake bait, the 6th Sense speed wake. The next one I have is a spinner bait, but more specifically, a 1 ounce or 1 1/4 ounce. And this is one where you're going to find the last remaining deep grass points, things like that. Some of your steep breaks on the lake, because this time of year, the steeper the break, it seems like more of the bait there's going to be, and that's where those fish kind of corral. A big, heavy spinner bait that you can slow roll down that, especially if you can parallel it, but then also be at a 90, casting up top and bringing down along that break. Buddy, you can get in for some fun. If you do
especially find like you might not catch a ton of fish doing that, but if you run 30 secondary points doing that, grass points, you're gonna get 5 bites if the wind's right and the conditions are right. That, oh man, there's nothing better than a good spinner bait bite, especially a big one that you can burn. Oh man, it's awesome.
What do you got?
Do I want to go largemouth or do I want to go a smallmouth specific technique deal here, or a little bit of hybrid? What do you think?
Let it rip. Do a hybrid.
Hybrid, super spook. There's something about a good old fashioned topwater bait in the fall transition period that you can, same thing as a swim jig, you can throw it in all the same places except for kind of skipping it into trees, but you can walk it around the trees. Something you can throw anywhere on shade lines, early in the morning, late in the afternoon. I found in the fall, sometimes you don't even need a shade line. It can be sunny, flat, calm, not a ripple on the water. And if you find a hungry guy, he's going to come up, or a girl, big bass, is going to come up and smoke that thing. Especially if you have a little bit of current, like a drain coming in, like a creek that's got some flow from like a rain the last few days. It's just one of my favorite baits. Everyone thinks, late summer, you have to downsize your baits. But as you get in that fall transition, downsizing is good. But also going bigger sometimes is going to allow you to get bigger bites. And it's not a cliche. Literally, some of those fish in the fall transition are already getting prepared for winter feed. So they're going to key on a bigger, easier meal to feed on so that they can gain more weight to survive the winter. So that's one of the reasons why you want to upsize your bait. So I'm not throwing the 2-hook spook. I'm throwing the super with 3.
Yeah. I mean, especially up here, it seems like bigger the bait this time of year. There's certain places where a smaller bait shines. This is where you got to keep in touch and pay attention to your local fishery in regards to the forage, things like that. Like if you're seeing more of that smaller bait, that is the time to throw that smaller presentation. If you don't see too big of a change in the forage that those fish are chasing, upsize that baby. Like go big.
And
I've seen that happen full fledged, especially up here in the north this time of year. Once you have that first cold front, go big because those fish are going to realize like, oh, hey, it's getting a little cold. We should probably be getting fat now. They start thinking about things like
we're
that.
very lucky in the corridor of lakes that we live in because they're very diverse from a bio standpoint, right? Like we don't just have herring eaters. Like we don't have herring. We have alewives, we have emerald shiners, we have smelt in some lakes. So that's 3 major bait fish. We have suckers and golden shiners in some lakes. We have perch, crappie, bluegill, pumpkin seed, rock bass, catfish, trout, salmon, like all these forage bases that our fish can eat. I'm surprised we don't have bigger fish than we do because of how much forage is readily available for our fish. And you're starting to see, like, I know the forward facing sonar talk, whatever, right? Like you're starting to see, here's $1, right? Yeah, crap, I forgot about that. But you're starting to see like what actually truly lives in a lot of our lakes. And I think there's bigger fish than we truly know in almost all of our lakes. It's just we haven't quite figured out how to capitalize and make them bite yet.
Yeah, definitely gonna attest to that. And this is for another show, but we keep talking about how like gobies and things like that getting into our finger lakes could be attributing to the size increase. But one thing we haven't really talked about that would really be good to get Stephen Barden on and talk about this, because Stephen actually told us he wants to talk about multiple different things with us. So you guys have a Stephen Barden show coming in hot.
Barden Power Hour, huh?
Indeed. The Steve Barden experience. And so what he was saying though is with winters and our ice seasons getting worse, that prolongs the prime growing season for these fish, which is why we are probably starting to see bigger smallmouth and largemouth. Which
I'm calling it now. This
sense.
Winter is going to suck. Just throwing it out there now. It's going to be cold and miserable. I don't know how much snow we're
okay. So our winters are always cold and miserable, but are you saying it's going to be longer?
I think we're going to have an earlier and a longer winter this year. So weather patterns are changing at the moment. We've been kind of stuck in an El Nino phase, kind of like a false La Nina. And this year we are actually going to be in a true La Nina, which up here in the Northeast, the last time that happened was 2016 in Western New York, the Northeast. You know what happened in 2016, right, Bailey? It's November.
Yeah, I can't remember what
we got 90 inches of snow on November 17th, right, in Buffalo, greater Buffalo area. So, and every time we have a La Nina, I also believe in 2014 or 2013, we were in a La Nina pattern. We had almost a 2-week stretch where we were not negative. We had barely got into the single digits highs, and we had like 13 days in a row where we didn't go over 10 degrees Fahrenheit. In 2013 in an El Nino weather pattern. It's going to be a cold, long winter based on scientific forecasting.
Based on scientist Andrew Full.
Yeah. So basically what happens is El Nino, your jet stream is further north and La Nina, it pulls the jet stream further south, so you get more Arctic blast and basically north trade winds pushing down into the continental U.S. So you see a lot more cold dip further south.
Well, buckle up, northern people.
I can't wait.
Buckle up.
Yeah,
I
so
hope
like
it is, honestly, because we've been talking with our friends. Like a lot of these ice fishing brands need it.
Yeah,
they need
100%.
a crazy winter. I'm fine with a crazy winter. Bring it on. I'll just go south. I'll keep bass fishing once hunting season's over.
I'm coming with you.
There we go. There we go. Serious Angler Tour in Florida. Just start guiding on Okeechobee or something like that. It'll be good.
But I mean, speaking like go back in the negative spot real fast. Like it's not just coastal Carolina that needs help. It's north of Tampa through the Golden Coast in Florida, right? Like we had rented a vacation house on Anna Marie Island and for April, and I don't know if we're going to be able to go because basically what I heard is 95% of that entire island is gone. So it's
yeah, man.
And that wasn't even a part of the hurricane. It was a part of it, but it was an outer band that went through. They got I think they got 10 feet of storm surge, which is virtually unsurvivable on that island, which is just to the south of Tampa, which was 250 miles away from like the center of the storm, which that just tells you how big Helene was, or Helene. It's insane.
Helene was a bitch.
So, yeah. We got lucky too because the weather forecast had another one. Yeah. The GFS modeling when Helene hit Florida had another hurricane brewing up in the Gulf, and it's pretty much all but fizzled out now. There's still a couple weather miles. I think the Icon has one forming there, but it's going to be maybe a tropical depression. It's going to start down like near the Yucatan of Mexico and kind of slide up and then slide east. So hopefully that doesn't drop too much rain into the Carolinas, where they truly do not need any rain for like 6 months.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I did not mean to yawn there. It's been a long day. But for people that are tuning in, you heard me mention the swear jar, or the FFS jar, if you will. I'm going to throw in swear words in there because why not?
I'm going to give you $1. I got $1 for you. You got
anytime you say forward facing on this show or swear, it's $1 into the jar. At the end of the month, we're going to donate it. And honestly, great timing. We'll donate it to one of these charities, more than we've already done so far. But yeah, so let's keep going down this train. We got I think 2 more each.
I'll send you my $1 via Venmo so I don't forget.
Oh, let's wait till after the show. You might pop another one.
I'm not gonna do it again.
We'll see about that.
Don't you worry, bud.
We'll see about that. Hold your $1. Hold your $1.
We gotta be quicker than that.
But what do you have? I'm trying to remember. Did you go next?
Yeah, you're up. No, so you did your spinner. I did a spook, right?
Yep. Okay, so I'm up.
No, then you did your spinnerbait, so I think it's my turn again.
Whatever. Yeah, go.
Yeah. All right. So we're going full on smallmouth mode here, and Great Lakes fish will do all kinds of crazy things through like the 2nd to 3rd week of September, depending on what lake you're on, through like the 1st week of October. And one thing I like to do at that time of year is get up shallow and like 8 to 18 foot of water. And some lakes it's really deep, but for the Great Lakes, that's relatively shallow. So the one thing I would like to do in targeting individual boulders, I found that I can make somewhat lethargic fish turn positive by just hovering a spy bait right over top of their heads ever so slowly. Jerk. And it's terrifying. I get like 3 hooks in my hand every fall because of that dang bait. But there's just days that where you can't get them to chase a drop shot or a single swim bait or make them chase anything. If you just slow roll that spy bait and you can hover it like a foot over their heads, you'll literally watch it get by them and they will come out and chase it and grab it. So, and it's not something you need with the fancy technology. You can literally blind cast it, count it down 3-4 seconds and just slow roll it. You just got to hope you keep it out of the rocks, because at $15 a pop, they get expensive quick. But it's a fantastic way. And I'm going to give you a little bit more juice. My favorite color
Yes,
for
yes,
smallmouth is prism gill.
He says
The
they're eating
G-Fix 80.
cats. They're
Yes,
eating the dogs.
oh my god. They might be. They might be.
They're eating the smallmouth.
Yes.
Are you a mono or fluoro guy?
I'm a braid to fluoro guy, and I'll run actually a shorter fluorocarbon leader, and I like the braid. And I use a really soft rod with it. I like braid because I can get better casting distance, but it has to be a super thin braid to like
6 to 8 pound braid.
Yeah. And 8-pound fluorocarbon, sometimes 7, depending on the sink rate that I want to achieve. But yeah, like 6 to 8 pound, or you can get away with like 10 or 12 pound if it's a higher carrier strand count. So it's more tightly woven together. So if you have like a 12 carrier braid or a 16 carrier braid, it's a little bit more tightly woven. So the line diameter size is actually thinner, more like that 6-pound braid of a lesser carrier count, like a 3 or a 5 or an 8. And you can get twice the casting distance out of it, in my opinion.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, seeing as though you stole one of mine,
You're welcome.
you jerk. I'm gonna go kind of the same length, but go with an underspin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Okashira head with like a spark shad or something.
That's just good all year round.
Yeah.
Any tricky fish or any fish that are a little bit hard to get to bite in Okashira, Andy.
Okashira.
Yeah. That's a really good one to get them to eat. But underspin, I freaking love it. Underspin. For school fish over grass, out deep, slow rolling, like that is a great way to get bit, especially if they're on some smaller bait. But you don't have to go throw a small bait on that. You can go throw a 5-6 inch paddle tail on the back of that, or you could play around with throwing a bigger fluke on an underspin too. You don't need to have the boot tail on it. Play around with that underspin. Don't even
what's a fun bit on there is like the Kitech 4 or 5 inch shad impact, the one that's got like that little quiver tail on it.
Yeah,
I've caught quite a few smallmouth on that one.
Well, that's what I was actually about to just say.
Sorry.
Thanks, Andy. No, that's okay. Hey, that's what we're here for. The lure lab is coming out of you.
Yes, just a little wiggle.
Yeah, that or the hog farmer spunk shad.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's
too.
a good one too. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I caught a 7.5 pound, 23.5 inch Lake Murray bass that helped me tie big bass at the event and get third out of like 250 people was an underspin. What I like about that, and you can incorporate this in the spy bait too. It's actually an Abu Garcia reel. It's the Abu Garcia winch, and it's like one of the slowest spinning reels in regards to gear ratio. That way you can turn it at a decent rate, but it's gonna move. The gear ratio is similar to like how the Revo Rocket's way faster. This one's way slower. So especially for people that are throwing hair, throwing spy baits, swim baits that are creeping on bottom, helps you just maintain that bottom contact and that water column. So something to think about at least when you're throwing that. I like throwing a 7.6 medium light or underspin, spy bait, hair, kind of all the same, unless you're throwing like a super heavy underspin.
Are you still throwing on that Fantasista that's been repaired like 4 times?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep repairing it because that's my freaking favorite rod. Favorite 7.6.
You've caught so many giants on that dang rod.
It's been money's worth. Let's put it at that. It's probably 5-6 years old and just
beyond its worth. It's beyond
its worth. It's caught some freaking giants. It's got some electrical tape that's holding the reel seat to the rod. We're doing everything we can to keep her intact because I love that freaking rod, man.
It's funny, I guide, like everyone knows I guide on here, right? Like I've gotten to a point where there's 2 rods on my boat that I won't let clients touch because I'm like, these rods have so much big fish tournament juju on them. I'm like, if you break them, you're going to ruin my season. And as a guide fishing 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes rods get broken. And I think I'm down like 8 or 9 rods this year already from them breaking. So it's been I'm like, these two have been going with me strong for 3 years now. I don't let anyone touch them. They have a specific reel on them. Like, these are my big fish tournament rods. Do not touch them. And only I play
Do
with
not
them
touch
when we're
these.
on the water. Yeah. I
Do
like
not
make
touch
sure
these.
they're out of the
This is
way
a
so I
no
can't
touching
step on.
zone.
I should
Yeah.
just put like caution tape. No touching zone. Yes.
No touching.
Very nice. All right.
Very good. Caution
Some
tape. Okay, you
caution
got the
tape.
last one here, and then we're gonna wrap this sucker up.
All right. What shall my last one be? All right. So I think I'm going to do something that is universal for just about any bass species. And I'm actually going to go like a very specific bait. And that's going to be the mega bass hasdong shad on a drop swim or drop shotting. So basically what that means is you're casting a drop shot out and you're just slowly rolling it on the bottom. It's another great way that when they're feeding on bait fish, just to get quite a few extra bites. You can throw it on long extended points. You can throw it on single isolated boulders. If you rig it properly, you could actually probably fish it in pockets and holes because that tail's going to kick as it's dropping. I catch a lot of fish actually with that, specifically smallmouth, straight up and down as I'm dropping it on their face with like a 1/2 ounce or a 5/8 ounce drop shot weight. And they'll get it before it even gets to the bottom. They'll swim up and grab it. So just another little tool to add in the drop shotting arsenal. If you're not doing it up here in the north, like you're missing out. And there's a couple Johnston brothers that kicked everyone's butt with this bait for quite some time. So
you try the new 6 Sense one?
I do have some. They work. They
worky.
worky. Yes.
They worky.
They worky. Yeah. And I mean, and you don't even have to like fish on a drop swim rig. That's what I wanted to talk about. You can put it on the Okashira head. You can put it on like a Okashira, whatever. And you can put it on a jig head, like a 3/16 to 1/8 ounce, and cast it really far. And for those who like BFS fishing, this is a great bait for that. So kind of
a little BFS in there. Should we put that in the swear jar?
Yeah, no. I got to reel, but no rod.
But no rod. Might as well just go get a twig outside. It'd be good.
Yeah, pretty much. It's funny. I used this for like 2 days, and I put it on the lightest rod I had. And every time I set the hook, I broke a fish off, and I was like, I'm done with it. I took it off, and it's been sitting on my desk ever since.
Sounds quality.
Yeah. It's just me. Yeah. It's just me. Like, I'm just like, I'm tired of losing fish, but I'm having fun. So,
yeah,
I got to find the right rod.
Heard that, dude. Well, folks, we are going to wrap this sucker up. Obviously, it's been a wild week with last week being no live show. This week, we weren't supposed to have a live show, and then my work trip got canceled and basically just had to scrounge up. Well, not scrounge up. Basically, last minute, had to figure some things out because was not prepared to have a show last night, which is usually why we have Tuesday Night Live. Definitely threw some people off having the live tonight on a Wednesday. Apparently, I'm not even going to go there, actually. I'm not going to pay attention to his comment. But otherwise, I appreciate people that were joining in tonight, having the show on a Wednesday. Was not anticipating. I don't even know if we were going to have a show. I was trying to see what we can make of something because essentially I didn't want to put something out that was not prepared, half-assed for lack of a better term, and give you guys something that's insightful that can do something good. And that was where I really wanted to go with this week. Was trying to see what we can do to raise some funds, create some good movement here in a time where I think a lot of people need some help. So hopefully we did that. Again, please go check the links down in the description. Go sign up for that kayak tournament where it's $35. $35, go sign up, and all the proceeds go to help out the fund down there in Appalachian, the Appalachian Fund. As well, or you can go and donate to one of the other link that I have down there. There's multiple different places you could donate to if you'd like, or go buy a pack or two of baits from Dream Catchers Fishing. Help keep those people employed and their families, and being able to get some supplies, things like that. So there's a lot that we can do if you're able to. I don't want me to make this thing, seem like or we want you and force you by any means necessary. This is if you're able to help, if you have a spare $20 that you're willing to support, please do. It'd be much appreciated. And I'm sure all those folks down there appreciate it more than we can put words to. So if you guys know anybody affected or anything like that, heart goes out to you guys. Please get in touch with us if there's anything we can do. If you know of any different avenues that we haven't seen that we can help contribute to, please shoot us a DM, fire us an email. We'll love to help any way possible. Appreciate our boy Austin Neri coming on here, coming on the show, dropping some juice on us, and also being pretty real. So, but appreciate all you guys for joining in. Appreciate those that are tuning in, listening to this right now, especially if you made the full show. We got some fun stuff ahead. We got some pretty cool shows the next few weeks coming up for you guys. So make sure you tune into the social media to see what is in store for the Serious Anger podcast, because we are rounding out the last couple months of 2024, dude. I feel like we just started this damn year.
Yeah, it's crazy. We just hit this Saturday will be the 100th episode of the Lure Lab, which is wild, and it's gonna be a good one. And I wanted to bring this up earlier while we were talking about it, Bailey. We talked about
2-year anniversary.
Yeah, 2-year anniversary. But you're talking about wake baits earlier, and we have throwback baits coming on this Saturday. And we're talking about a crank down that they designed that can be fished as a wake bait, but also subsurface, like 6 inches below the surface. And it's a smaller, heavier, like crank down swim bait that I think everyone's going to enjoy that episode. A lot of knowledge was dropped specifically about like northern fisheries, a little bit of Ozarks and the Northeast, and how to apply crank down to get bigger than average bites. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Icy.
Yes. A little prelude. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, buddy, I think this was a great show tonight. Dropped a lot of juice. Folks, I'm going to get the description here churned out with some of the bait links as well to Dreamcatchers Fishing, but appreciate you all for tuning in here. Again, shoot me a DM if you're able to help as well, and you want some goodies. I'll send you out some baits or something like that. Anything we can do to try to help those people. So appreciate y'all, and we'll see you.
And I'll throw like a little sub segment on there right now, right? He said his bait shop is growing. So if there's no tackle that you see on there, they do offer gift cards. And a gift card is a great way to make a small purchase, no matter what the dollar amount is, just to help the community get through this terrible, tragic time. So if there's something on there that you see, even a $20 or $5 or $50 gift card goes a really, really long way in helping them help everyone in that community.
Great point, dude. And as Austin said, as he was exiting the show here, was tell your family and your friends you love them, because you never know when today could be your last. So
love Andy, you, buddy.
You bastard, you beat me to it. Oh, I love you too, buddy. I appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. Love all you viewers. You guys are family. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.